Okay, welcome back into day 2 of our dream event. I'm so excited that you guys are all here. Hello to everyone on the recording. Thank you to those of you that are here on live. We talked about our dream or our desire, and we learned about goal setting. Okay, so I left you guys with the homework to really analyze your goal, feel into it. Is your goal a C-type goal? Is it something that makes you stretch? How does it feel when you think about it? Okay, so if it's not a C-type goal, you might want to reconsider and think of something that does make you stretch, right? So each and every day we have a choice. We have a choice to make. We get to make a committed decision to our dream, to our goal, to our desire, or not. Okay, we don't just make this decision one time. We don't just make the decision one time. Okay, we make this decision every single day. So sometimes people get wrapped up in the idea that, oh, I thought about it once and it's just on its way. Yeah, okay, if there's no resistance, you will begin to see signs of it coming in for sure. But it's something that we need to consciously choose every day. Okay, so one of my favorite tools I love to use every day to help me to further embody my desire or dream is writing. I write all the time. I am always writing. And so some people call this auto-suggestion. It's a certain type of writing. Auto-suggestion is basically you are suggesting ideas, new ideas to your subconscious mind. Okay, so when I write my dreams or desires as if they're already manifested. Okay, so I allow my mind and my imagination to go wild, to go limitless, literally asking myself this question: if all things are possible, what do I desire? And every day, has anything shifted? Has my desire shifted even? And not shifted because I have doubts about it. Has it expanded? Has it evolved? Has my awareness increased so that now I have an ability to see things that I haven't been able to see before? At the very beginning, kind of like what we're talking about is sometimes our ability to dream is kind of small. And that's okay. That's just through our conditioning. It's through our old programs and our old habits. But then once we open ourselves up little by little to this awareness of, hey, I am actually limitless, we begin to expand our awareness and our perception shifts. And our perception of what's possible and what's not possible begins to shift, right? So that's really cool. So I love to play with my subconscious when I'm writing. Okay, so we'll always, or pretty much always, almost always, find answers or pieces to the puzzle. Abby, can you turn that off, please? Abby? She's a music freak. I'm gonna have to turn that off. 1 second. I'll just turn you over here. So that doesn't happen again. Okay, so I play with my subconscious, and when I find when I'm journaling, when I'm writing, I'll almost always find answers or pieces to my puzzle. So what that means is the next step, right? It'll come to me kind of intuitively. I work with the law of assumption as well, like we talked about before. So I hope that what I'm sharing here is giving you some ideas of how you can further move closer to your dream or goal, and how I really want to break it down for you to show you that any desire or any dream that you have can become realized. It can manifest in your life. You just need to work on the thoughts and beliefs that you hold. Okay. So the law of assumption, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. It's basically a law that states that whatever we assume will manifest, right? Give me 1 sec here. Sephora, please go away and take care of everything. Sure. Yeah. Alrighty. Hashtag mom life, right? So law of assumption states that everything we assume to be true as truth, right? And remember, that's just a perception, will manifest by law. Okay. So I have built the belief for myself that anything I write down, whatever I write down, will manifest into my physical. Okay, so remember that the subconscious mind is our feeling and doing part of our mind. That's our subconscious. So when we're working on convincing this part of our mind that our dream is real, if our conscious mind can't perceive our dream to be a possibility, it will have a harder time convincing the subconscious. Does that make sense? We talked about it a little bit before about how affirmations don't really work if you don't believe the affirmation. So it's not that you need to believe it on a subconscious level. You need to actually believe it on a conscious level first, right? Because if we're saying like, oh, I could be anything, like I earn $1 million a month, whatever, right? If your conscious mind right away is like, yeah, no, you don't. Like, there's no way you're going to try to trick your subconscious into believing that, right? So if our conscious mind can't perceive our dream to be a possibility, or even a truth, specifically a truth, that'd be great. It'll have a harder time convincing the subconscious. Okay, so the knowing and feeling need to be in harmony, right? So we need to work with the subconscious, work with the conscious mind. And it's easier to work with the conscious mind because we can control it. We can choose to accept or reject any idea. It might just take a little bit of practice, right? That conscious manifesting, right? Like conscious awareness of our thoughts, conscious awareness of our feelings, things like that, right? And we can choose to accept or reject any idea through the conscious mind. So I'm not saying that our conscious mind needs to be completely 100% believing our desire, right? Before we can manifest it. It'll come with time. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So it's the subconscious mind where our paradigm and our programs are. So when we work with autosuggestion and we include all the details that we can, we access that part of our brain, right? The feeling, and it's really, really cool. It's our feeling brain. Okay. Hold on. I was just looking back to see another. Okay. The knowing and the feeling is in the subconscious. So we need to speak to it in emotion, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so of course, our self-perceived limitations are going to come up. When we have these desires, these dreams that we want to bring into our reality, our old habits are going to come up, our old self-perceived limitations. So here's a thought to consider. We don't see the world as it is. Okay, we don't see the world as it is. I see the world completely different than, say, Larissa sees the world, right? We see the world as we are conditioned to see it through kind of like our own unique lens, our unique lens of our paradigm. I like to call it like it's like a filter. We have our own unique filter, okay? And then turn that around. The world doesn't see us as we are. It sees us as we think or we believe that we are. Isn't that crazy? Right? Because all of that carries a frequency. Everything, every thought has a frequency. So if we think we are somebody, at a deep subconscious level, somebody who is living in lack and limitation, who's somebody who is struggling just like a victim to their circumstances, all the things, it feels heavy, like you feel like the world owes you something. You're constantly working and doing things and no one's recognizing. Has that come across before in the past? It definitely has to me. Right? That's how the world sees you. And that's not a magnetic frequency. That is a frequency that nobody wants to get involved with. Okay, so the world sees us as we think or believe we are, the energy we hold within us, right? Those ideas of, if I truly do believe that I am a millionaire, I'm going to show up in a completely different energy than somebody who really truly believes that they are struggling, that they are in just such a horrible situation, maybe potentially in a victim situation. That makes sense. And I don't want to say that something is better than the other, right? Obviously something is a little bit more attractive. Like nobody wants to be in that victim situation. But the reality is that I wanted to bring that up just in case you want to, analyze your own situation. How do I see me? Have I been kind of collecting these thoughts or beliefs and these assumptions that I think outside people need to, they owe me something, or I need to receive validation from the outside world because of something that happened in the past. Remember, this is all paradigm, right? So who do we think we are? What is our self-image? Does that differ? Is that different from the person who has our desire already in the physical? Interesting, right? So that is why you haven't manifested your desire yet. If there's a disconnect, if there is a separation from where you think you currently are, remember, it's your thoughts that are keeping you where you are. Okay, is there a separation between that and where you want to be? And your desire, having your desire manifested in your physical. Okay, so you have work to do on you. And that doesn't mean more hustle, grind, push, pull, all the things. What most people do is they think they need to work harder, work longer hours, these sorts of things. That's mechanical. That is a very masculine energy. And like I've said a million times before, that works for some people. I'm pretty sure it doesn't feel inspired or, in flow all the time, maybe sometimes, and that's okay, right? But this work we're talking about here is internal work. It's recognizing, oh my gosh, I'm thinking thoughts of things that I don't want. And that's where most people are, right? So what if your success or attainment of your desire or dream was inevitable? What if it was going to happen? Yes or yes? How does that feel? Right? How would you move? What would your habits be? That's a big one. What would your habits be? Somebody, like we talked about that yesterday with Kelty, who was talking about how she had recently quit smoking and became a non-smoker. I'm like, girl, you're not a non-smoker. You're just somebody who doesn't smoke, right? What are your new habits? What would you be doing if your desire or dream was inevitable, right? I did some journaling actually last night myself on this, because whenever I feel there's like a disconnect or something's not fully flowing or feeling in spirit, you're gonna put glitter glue. Whenever that happens, I question, I ask questions, and I'm open to pivoting. I'm open to shifting anything that needs to be shifted, right? And so when we're doing this, how would we be acting if, when my desire is fulfilled, how would I show up? What would be my habits? What would be even my tendencies in business? What would be my expenses? What would my team look like? What does that look like, right? What does everything look like? It's a really good exercise to do. So most of the time, like we talked about yesterday, we'll make a goal or a choice, or we'll make a decision that we're going to commit to our goal. Okay. So it's easy in the beginning. Like we said, it's easy in the beginning to have faith, and it's easy to have faith and excitement right before it manifests. It's like coming and you're signing the papers, it's coming. But in the middle, sometimes life gets rocky. Okay. And this was me as well. Yesterday on the beach, I was like, holy moly, the paradigm is so loud. It's so loud. And I have been taught and have read in many different places and I've experienced myself that just before you are really truly moving into where it starts to get good, the paradigm gets even louder, right? And it makes sense. It's like the last little, like, oh, the paradigm gets so loud. So we've talked about this before yesterday, how we're, the law of rhythm. Life is not plano, it's not flat, right? It's the law of rhythm. We'll have good moments where we perceive them to be good, bad moments where we allowed the paradigm to take over, or we start to believe little old beliefs or we fall back into old habits or tendencies, right? But we have the awareness to recognize what we're doing and we pick ourselves back out of it. We don't set up camp there anymore, right? So most people are in this law of rhythm like this, right? We are like this. Okay. And so what happens is that once we start to really build the awareness and really challenge the paradigm, part of it starts to get a little bit louder. And we're like, okay, I have a choice to make. I can choose to recommit myself to my goal and say, goodbye, paradigm. I am releasing you forever. I no longer am that version of me. I'm no longer those beliefs. Right? We can really believe that we can let it go, release it, and we can recommit ourselves. And we're like, no, I'm 100% into my dream, my goal. I'm not going back to where I was. Okay, so the interesting thing about that is that, a lot of people in that middle time between the desire and the realization of the desire, it gets rocky. Like I said yesterday, they like to take those signs or those kind of like blocks in the road or those, feelings and emotions that come up, those old beliefs, as signs that you're moving in the wrong direction. It's not true. If you have a desire and a dream, it's yours, yes or yes. You are the creator of your life. It's not, oh, I'm in the wrong direction now. It's no, those are tests along the way to really encourage you to dig deeper, right? To heal even more old thoughts, old traumas, old stuff, right? It's encouraging you to really sweep under the rug and get all the corners, even behind the fridge, right? Like everything is coming out so that it can be released. Because in order to become a vibrational match to your desire, to, grow into, you need to grow into that version of you. And unfortunately, or fortunately, actually, you can't take the old you with you. You can't. So that's kind of scary for some people, because the old you might have some friends, some friends that are in that space as well. The old you might have some habits that maybe you share with your significant other. It's an interesting one, right? So it's easy to get scared. It's easy to say, no, actually, that's not what I want to do, or I'm not willing to stay the course, or whatever. It's easy to stay where you are. Most people do, right? But if you're not happy with your current situation and your current results you're getting in life, and you'd like to do better, you can change the paradigm. Okay, we talked about changing the paradigm a little bit yesterday as well, but I wanted to kind of go over it again and expand a little bit. Okay, so the first way we can change the paradigm, according to Bob Proctor, like I said yesterday, there are only 2 ways to change the paradigm. I'm not exactly sure. I really like these 2 ways, but maybe some of you watching might have your own interpretation of how to change a paradigm. Okay, so the first one is emotional impact. So I told you yesterday about the car accident. That's when something hits you so hard in your life that you'll never be the same. Like something changes you on a cellular level. Normally, most of the time it's negative in nature, but it can also be something that's positive. It can also be something that's positive. Okay. The second way to change a paradigm is through the same way it was formed. Repetition of ideas. Our paradigm was formed through repetition. Okay, so what that means is we need to be exposing ourselves to a new idea over and over and over again with the intention of replacing an old belief that is in our subconscious mind. So we can do that through through tapping. We can do that through auto-suggestion. We can do it through mirror work, which is basically stating affirmations in front of a mirror. We can do it through just affirmations. We can do it through, watching our thoughts and constantly being no. Eventually it'll get easier. No, and replace it with a new thought right away. I don't think that way anymore. That's not me anymore. Or you can even say, oh, hi, mom. I recognize that this is what's happening right now, and I'm choosing again. That's it, right? So let's talk about a little bit more about paradigms and what could be potentially governing, shaping, and creating our thoughts, right? And then eventually, right, our behavior and our results, because our thoughts create feelings, who create our actions, our behaviors, habits, and results. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then you can kind of just take note, right? The first one is, what characteristics were passed on to you from your mom's side of the family? Okay, so when we start thinking about paradigms, remember that they were formed since we were born and even before. We have some paradigms that are generational, right? But are any of your tendencies, your habits, connected to your mom or your mom's side of the family? Okay, what about the dad's side of the family? And just observing, oh yeah, I totally see how my mom totally overextends herself all the time, doesn't take anything for her. She's always giving, 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 giving. And holy crap, I do that too. I never take time for me. Something like that, you know? Okay. And then the next question is, when you were growing up, how was your financial situation with your family? Was it like you have to get a job as soon as you're legally able to because you need to help support the family? Was your financial situation that the family always only had just enough? We never ran out, but we only had just enough. And then does that show up in your life now? Did for me a long time. For a long time. Always only had just enough. Never ran out, but only just enough. Interesting, right? So it's so interesting to have these, you know, these realizations. So powerful. So next one, think about where you are in your life right now. Your work, finances, relationships, health, family, state of mind, everything. In general, how would you characterize your life today? What is your view on your life today? Like right here in this current 3D. Interesting, right? Like average. I don't know. Average. Always only have just enough, whatever it is, right? You can also take a look at your income, your current income. What's the most you've earned in a year? This is all to do with your paradigm. And you can probably see that income potentially reflected, like as a reflection. It is a similar situation to maybe how you grew up or your family, a family member, something like that. Maybe not, but maybe yes. Okay. So with the knowledge you currently have, what do you believe you could earn if you gave it your absolute best? This is challenging the conscious mind. What do you believe you could earn? And give it your absolute best is like a quite mechanical way of saying this. These are some questions I got from Bob Proctor. So again, we might not be able to kind of, what's the word? Even perceive what's possible in this moment, right? Okay, next question. I love this one. Describe your morning routine. Okay, morning routines are so valuable because it is such a sacred time. It is such an important time because it sets us up for the rest of our day. We get to choose. You know, and of course, if you are in like the thick of motherhood with like a newborn baby and a toddler and all the things, like give yourself grace because your life will be completely different in even 6 months from now. Okay. Give yourself grace, but describe your morning routine. And then maybe you describe your morning routine, how you would like it to look, and ask yourself, how can I move a little bit closer to that? Again, giving yourself grace if you're in the thick of motherhood. If you're not, what if you woke up a little bit earlier to have a little bit more time alone before the kids woke up? What would you do in the morning, right? I am a big, big, big fan of journaling, like I mentioned, auto-suggestion, just dreaming. I wake up and I'm dreaming, and I am tapping on any limitations or perceptions or old beliefs, right? So, oops, sorry, Ezzy. Sorry. So morning is a beautiful time to work with the subconscious mind because it's our mind tends to be more quiet in the morning. Go see Sequoia. Our mind's more quiet in the morning, okay? It doesn't have the whole day of stuff in our mind. Tends to be, okay? Here, Eddie. There you go. Okay, in the evening, especially like if we allow ourselves to get wrapped up in social media or in work or whatever it is, sometimes in the evening, our mind can be more like a monkey mind, right? It's like a rat race in there. We're thinking all sorts of things. And so it's a little trickier to kind of get quiet. So morning's amazing for that. I actually had a pretty awesome download that I'm going to share with you guys tomorrow. That is a new 21-day program I'm going to offer it's in June. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, it's coming. So it has a lot to do with the morning routine. That's why that reminded me of that. Okay, next one. Are you genuinely enthusiastic about how you spend your days? If not, what would you rather be doing? Am I excited to wake up? Am I excited? Like, we as humans are creative beings. We have this ability to create. If we don't, I said this, I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was on our Transform call. If we're not creating, we're disintegrating, right? If we're not creating, we're disintegrating. We see this in so many people where they've just kind of like capped themselves. They're just monotoning through life. They're just subscribing to the status quo, subscribing to their situation, subscribing to their paradigm, right? And they're just like, this is what my life is. That's what they say. This is as good as life gets. This is what it is until I retire. No, it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way. Okay. So what would you rather be doing? If you are not excited and enthusiastic about your life and how you spend your days, what would you rather be doing? If all things are possible, what do I desire? Find a way to, repeat that and expand your awareness to the point of being able to perceive it as a potential. Okay. You are limitless. We don't need to be stuck in this monotone. Okay. Last question here. And I love this one. Name the 6 people who you spend most of your time with. Okay. If you have or had children, would you want them to grow up like these 6 people? It's an interesting one, right? Why or why not? So cool. Because we are very similar to the people we spend the most time with, right? We are similar to them. Birds of a feather flock together. Do we want our children to grow up like that as well? Do we want them to be those types of people? Why or why not? And as we begin to expand our awareness, we might kind of outgrow those people. I've definitely got some people in my life where I'm like, oh, I limit my time around you. And most of those people are family. And that's okay. And that is okay. Right? I still love them the same. I still, appreciate them and all the things. I'm super grateful for them. But I know that I just don't, I don't need to spend that much time around them, and I get to choose, and that's okay. Right. So anyway, all of these questions and answering, just asking yourselves questions, just getting curious about your own self, your own situation, your mind is such a beautiful way to begin to understand your paradigm and understand your identity, understand what's controlling the results you're getting in your life. This is huge. This is awareness, right? So a great way to consciously start to improve or even replace a bad habit or a bad thought process. Lots of habits are in the mind. Lots of habits are in the mind. Okay. We want to create a new habit. We want to furthermore create a new identity-based habit. Okay. We need to identify what habits the version of us that has our desire in the physical, what habits do they have? Just like we just talked about. Embody them, become them. Okay, we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. But something I wanted to introduce you to, or actually mention before I introduce you to another tool is this, okay? If you basically like, this is a concept that I just read actually yesterday, and I actually really like it. So listen to this. No more effort or energy is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. I'm going to read that again. No more effort or energy is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. We have this funny belief sometimes that that is too much work. I don't have time for that. Or it's really hard. I don't have the bandwidth, whatever it is. Interesting perception, right? So don't be afraid to step out of the box and do something completely different. Okay. So interesting. So what comes up when you hear that? What comes up when you hear that? Because sometimes people think, we have this perception, we have this idea in our head that, oh, it's easier to stay where I am. That's garbage. It's not easier to stay where you are, right? It's not. The same amount, no more effort or energy is required to, of course, it's going to cause us, it's going to cause us a lot of stuff along the way. We need to be fully committed to our expansion and our growth. But it's not going to take more effort or energy. It's just the shifting of awareness and the complete, consistent commitment and persistence to our dream and desire to change those thoughts. Crazy, right? So maybe some yeah buts came up, or like, how the heck? This is totally relevant, okay? They're totally real, but they're real from an old paradigm. Okay, so we get to choose. Do I believe them anymore? Do I want to continue on in my life like this? We don't have to. Okay, so let's do some tapping. I love EFT tapping because it is such a fantastic way to shift your awareness, to have a conversation with yourself, to shift out of the fight or flight into the rest and restore. You can really feel a shift in general. Okay, such a fabulous way to get out of your own way. So what we're going to do, if you're new to tapping, I'm basically going to guide you through tapping on various acupressure points on your face, torso, and you're just going to follow me, kind of like Simon says. Okay, I'm going to say something while I'm tapping, repeat after me, and if something triggers you, listen to that. Okay, if you say something and right away your subconscious is like, that's not true, you might want to write that down. Okay, because if it's something that you want to be true, but it's not yet true, that's your key. That's where you need to work on. That's how you know what you need to work on. What do you mean? Okay. Okay, but if when we're going through this tapping sequence, you have things that come up that are no longer relevant and no longer real, that's cool. That's great. You're like, oh, awesome. I used to believe that, but I don't believe that anymore. That's fantastic, right? So let's start by tapping on the side of the hand. Okay, tapping on the side of the hand, take a breath. Close your eyes. Allow your breath to fill your body. Full inhale. Full exhale at the mouth. Allowing yourself to arrive in the space again. Just release any to-do lists, anything you think you need to do after this. Just allowing yourself to come fully present to right here and right now. Releasing any expectations you have on yourself or others. And take one more breath. And then repeat after me. I can feel that there is a part of me that is living through my five senses. And when I think of my dream or desire, I know I'm limiting myself. When I think of my dream or desire, the how comes in strong. I end up questioning myself and my abilities. And that's okay. I am proud of me anyway, and I am so grateful for this new awareness. You continue on the side of the hand and say, even though I've been doubting myself and my ability to do big things, that's okay. I am learning. And even when all the doubts come up, I still honor myself and my growth. I am so proud of me, and I know that I am committed to my expansion. Okay, let's go to the top of the head, tapping with both hands if you can. I've been doubting myself. Eyebrow point. And my ability to do big things. Side of the eye. Other people's opinions like to come in and throw me off. Under the eye, I have this dream. Under the nose. When I think of it, I get so excited. Under the mouth. But when it comes to actually taking the first step towards it, collarbone point, my logical mind comes in with all the reasons why it's not possible. Under the arms, and that's okay. Under the chest, kind of the sternum area, I am now beginning to understand my mind a little more. Wrist point, so wrists together. And I realize that I have some work to do in my thinking. Let's go back to the top of the head and say, sometimes my thoughts run wild. Eyebrow point. They pull me back down. Side of the eye. They remind me of all the reasons I'm not good enough. Under the eye, or how I've been here before and didn't do it last time. Under the nose. Why would it work out this time? Under the mouth. All of these old ways of thinking. Collarbone point. They feel so real sometimes. Under the arms. I know that they aren't. Under the chest, and I'm so ready to grow out of them today. Wrist point. I am here to do big, bold things. Top of the head, and I now understand that allowing those old beliefs to derail me eyebrow point doesn't just impact me. Side of the eye, it impacts everyone around me too. Under the eye, I'm ready to shift these old beliefs. Under the nose, because I know so much more is on its way to me. Take a breath. So that's known as kind of like the venting round. We're just kind of like getting whatever we have in our mind out. So you guys can totally do this on your own. Those, especially with those hows or those like yeah buts, put them into your tapping script, and that's all just venting. Okay. The second round, when we're ready, when we're kind of feeling like, okay, we've got it out, now let's forgive ourselves for thinking those old thoughts. Forgive ourselves for thinking that way. Okay. So tapping again on the side of the hand. Take a breath. And say, even though I had all of those old thoughts and beliefs come up, that's okay. I now know that it's completely normal for this to happen. I'm breaking free from my whole lifetime of conditioning and patterns. And it's not easy. But I am deeply and completely committed to this work. I want to change my thinking. And although it's not easy, otherwise everyone would do it, I'm not here to live an average life any longer. Sometimes I allow other people's opinions to impact me. That's okay. I know that I'm still growing, and I will always be still growing. Every day I am recommitting to myself and to my dream life. One day I'll look back and everything will be different. Okay, let's go to the top of the head and say, I am doing amazing work. Eyebrow point, I forgive myself for feeling frustrated. Side of the eye, forgive myself for believing my old thoughts and beliefs. Under the eye, I am so ready to release these old limitations. Under the nose, so I can open myself up to so much more abundance that is all around me. Under the mouth, every day I am consciously choosing to recommit myself to my dream life. Collarbone, I'm serious about this work. Under the arms, I'm a spiritual being. Under the chest, with an intellectual mind. Wrist point, having a beautiful 3D human experience. Let's go to the top of the head and say, I forgive myself for thinking I need to be perfect. Eyebrow point, I now see I'm exactly where I need to be. Side of the eye, I am always exactly where I need to be. Under the eye, it feels so good knowing I no longer need to struggle. Under the nose, or push or pull or force. Under the mouth, I forgive myself for thinking I should be further ahead. Collarbone point, I forgive myself for allowing other people's opinions of me to impact me. Under the arms, I am taking full ownership of my thoughts from now on. Under the chest, because I now understand that my thinking determines what happens next. Okay, take a breath. Just checking in with how you're feeling. Normally you can feel a little bit like of a relief. You're like, okay, forgive myself. Feeling good. And let's go right into our round 3. These are affirmations. It's my favorite one. Okay. So again, affirmations, if you're not ready for them, some of them could trigger something. Some of them could trigger something in your mind to say, oh, not true. Oh, not true. Write that down because those are your keys. Okay, that's what you can tap on in the resistance round in the first, the venting round. You can tap on it, kind of get to the root of it. You start to understand where it came from, even. And then you can release it. You can forgive yourself for thinking that way. Forgive myself for thinking that I am not in flow. I am where I am because I think I am. We think we're not in flow. Guess what's going to happen? We're not going to be in flow. Okay. So let's take a breath for our last round of tapping. Okay. Tapping right on the top of the head. I know I'm here for a reason. Eyebrow point. I can feel and I notice a shift in my awareness. Side of the eye. I feel so much lighter and freer. Under the eye. I feel like I'm in flow. Under the nose, I know exactly what I need to do. Under the mouth, I'm exactly where I need to be. Collarbone point, today and every day. Under the arms, today's a new day. Under the chest, a new day to start fresh. Wrist point, and to recommit to my dream. So the top of the head, I know that everything in my world is working out in my favor. Eyebrow point, and even though I had these old beliefs or expired thoughts come up, side of the eye, I've released them. Under the eye, I no longer focus on what I don't want. Under the nose, I only focus on what I do want. Under the mouth, it feels exciting. Collarbone point, it feels fill in the blank. Under the arms, I am so grateful for this new awareness. Under the chest, I am so grateful for my mind, my intellect. Wrist point, I am so grateful for this beautiful day. Top of the head, for my family. Eyebrow point, I'm so grateful for fill in the blank. Side of the eye, I'm so proud of me. Under the eye, I am so grateful for where I am in my life. Under the nose, and I'm so, so excited for what's on its way to me now. Okay, take a breath. Notice how you're feeling. It's such a beautiful way to shift energy, shift our awareness, get to know ourselves a little more. Okay, so be sure to write down anything that's come up along the way, any thoughts, any perceptions, any maybe you've noticed some old beliefs come up, write them down. If you have any new affirmations you want to write down and reaffirm, remember affirmations don't necessarily need to be something that's manifested now. We can affirm things that aren't yet physical. We just need to make sure that we can encourage our subconscious to believe them to be true. Okay. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. We're going to see you tomorrow on VIP Day. Bring your questions. Tomorrow, we're also opening enrollment for a couple programs. And like I said, a brand new one that I just received last night. So we'll talk about these tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're also going to do a visualization. We're also going to talk about quantum leaping, closing the gap, becoming, adopting new identities and beliefs and habits and things like that. So it's going to be really awesome. So have an amazing day. Thank you for being on live with me. Hello to everyone on the recording again, and thank you for watching the recording. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.